Guys, I don't know how to start this review because this camera, the LUMIX S9, is an entanglement of simplicity. This camera is like a baby Frankenstein. It's like LUMIX went and took some of my favorite features from other camera manufacturers and stuffed it into this little guy here. Kind of has this Fujifilm X Pearl 1 type body, except they left out the viewfinder. It's like they combined the balance that the Sony a7C II creates between form factor and quality, except they're giving us open gate. And more importantly, giving us this weird like plasticky type Fujifilm X106 type body while providing up to 39 film simulations, I guess we'll start calling them. But just like Frankenstein, it's not perfect. This camera changes everything. I think a lot of people are gonna have mixed feelings about this, but I absolutely love this thing. All right guys, let's first go over the downsides because I know a lot of people are gonna have complaints on this and a lot of other people are gonna love it. One of the main issues with this camera is multiple times now I've done this and have been let down because the form factor on this is a rangefinder, yet there's no actual viewfinder on here. I know I'm kind of a grandpa when it comes to this stuff, but personally, I love having a viewfinder. I love blacking out the rest of the world and seeing whatever the shot is, like just immersing my eye into that. The second thing is it's an electronic shutter. Some people might not care about that. Personally, for me, there's some issues that come with it. Sometimes it can affect dynamic range. Other times it can create rolling shutter. So say if I was going to be like on the train here, a lot of that's probably gonna be bent or sideways because, you know, it's not a mechanical shutter. That leads me into the other thing. If you want to use flash with this, there's no hot shoe on this. This thing is a dead cold shoe. That's almost a deal breaker for me because this type of form factor pairing with a lens like this, I want to shoot on camera flash retro type stuff. This won't be able to do that. That's kind of crazy that LUMIX kind of left that out. Four things are kind of video related. We'll get into video on this because that's kind of where the magic happens on, you know, this being a hybrid system here. But there's no headphone jack. We found that out the hard way when we were doing that micro dock. The other thing is it's a micro HDMI. Every camera I've owned with a micro HDMI, I've either fucked up the port and totally ripped it out or I twisted up cable. So this is kind of an issue for me a little bit, but at the same time, that's kind of what we get when it comes to form factor and trying to keep everything a little more compact. Guys, now that that is over and said with, let's go over why I absolutely love this and why I'm actually planning on using this heavily. The reason my logos are road runners, you often see them running through the desert. They're faster on their feet and they're all about their agility. But that's why this camera kind of speaks to me. Whether I'm using it for stills or running it for motion, it does both. You might think roadrunners are pretty lame because you just see twiggy little birds running through the desert, but a single roadrunner can kill a venomous rattlesnake and eat it. And I think that's pretty badass. So guys, the reason I'm falling in love with this camera so much is because of my lifestyle. I know that sounds silly and lifestyle, blah, blah. I love going on adventures and I love documenting them and trying to make them look as, you know, filmic as possible, cinematic, while also keeping it as simple as possible. And while shooting them on anamorphic simultaneously, which anamorphic usually means complicated, not simple. This is what this camera is creating for me. It's creating a simple solution, a compact, easy to rig up, putting it in little corners of cars and hotel rooms and in the desert, wherever I'm going. This camera is just going to make my life easier when it comes to things like this. Here guys, I think I'm going to start calling this my mobile anamorphic setup. Pretty much does everything I need it to do. Granted, it doesn't do it perfectly, but it does it conveniently. And sometimes that's more important. And I know a lot of people are going to complain how it has that f/2x sensor or the recoil limit, yada, yada, yada. The thing is, for me, there's no perfect camera. They're all just tools. And like all toolkits, there's not one perfect tool because you have multiple tools for different jobs. But the process of filming this intro is proof to myself that convenience is sometimes more powerful than quality. All right, guys, now let's switch this conversation to photos. Guys, LUMIX, yes, they flew us all out here. This is my first time ever doing anything like this, and I'm beyond grateful. They're not paying us. They didn't tell us to film anything. I know some of you guys be like, oh, they flew you out, so you're like, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, the actual sponsor of this video is Audio, and they have stems, and they have crazy good deals. So let me tell you about that real quick. Let's talk about stems. Audio has released Elements, which basically gives us access to the stems from almost the entire library. This is gonna take 30 seconds. You see the intro of this video here. The song starts to hit right around this point where I do my little cinematic intro. But before that, the song's not long enough to actually cover the rest of the intro. So I'm gonna go back to Audio, and this is the song right here. We have Elements. Right here, we have access to all the instruments. So let me go to guitar real quick. So it basically strips away all the other audio from the song, and it just gives us that one instrument. But since I'm in Japan for this video, I really want the wind. So from here, I'm just gonna click here. I'm going to download that stem there and drop it right on there. It's almost like as if I was able to go directly to the band and say, hey, I love the song, it sounds perfect, but I want just the wind instrument for the intro. That's basically what stems is allowing us to do here. So again, after the video's over, go back to the intro and listen to it. It almost sounds like the song was made like that, like it was made to kind of build up from the flutes kind of just playing and then the song hits. But in reality, I did that thanks to Elements from audio.com. You can get access to Elements when you use a pro subscription to audio.com. There's a link down in my description. Make sure to use that and the code CAM70 to get 70% off your first year. That's wild that they're giving you 70% off. Who does that? I think this is going to be a great option for anybody who's been looking at the Sony a7C II or any Fujifilm type cameras. I have two of my other favorite stills photography cameras currently. Bit of a mixing pot here because we have a crop sensor Fujifilm X106. I think this camera is going to stir the pot now when it comes to anybody looking at this. Guys, we're here on the train, and every day we've been going out and trying to film as much as possible, and we've all become addicted to this camera. Even the filmmakers are starting to shoot crazy photography. I just said something that's like, it kind of was an epiphany to me, is I love my Fujifilm X106. I think if it came between the two of them, because you know I don't want to carry two of them similar cameras, I think I'm going to take this instead of the X106 now. So I still appreciate the build quality on the X106, but this is just like, you know, again, it's the whole LUTs.
All right, I'm gonna be honest, man. I haven't had this much fun using the camera in a long time. It's just something about being able to like customize all the photos and try out all these different recipes, if you will, on the fly. It's just so dope, man. Seriously, so dope.
For me, I think that this camera unlocks something for you when you're using it. The barrier to taking really cool photos or just having a blast out there is next to nothing. With Fujifilm, it's very similar to that, but what I like about this is that I don't have to feel like I need to look up recipes. With this, I can just go into the app and make them myself until I like them, and then I'm off to the races. So, or download other people's in the creator section. So honestly, this camera is way better than it seems on paper.
And guys, what's crazy is, again, you know, on the Fujifilm cameras, you're kind of stuck with what Fuji gives you. But multiple times on this trip, like, we had a moment to sit down and I would just go and create another profile and then just send it straight to my camera. And now I'm shooting with basically a whole new film sim or a film stock, like just, you know, within 5 minutes.
All we have been doing this whole trip is trying out LUTs, creating LUTs, downloading LUTs. And it's just something so dope about being able to do it like right on the fly, wherever you are, creating. Like, this is creation, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like this is one of the first cameras in a long time that as creators, we feel like, yo, we are actually out creating something. And for me, that's a huge W.
Guys, I'm stuck with Connor and Terry back here, but we're all out here in Japan together, and they're also going to be coming out with their own videos on the new S9.
Weirdly polarizing, isn't it?
Yes.
Cam's just trying to sell his LUTs, but you should buy them. They're pretty cool.
Yeah. What do they look like?
They look just like film.
One of the most exciting features on this is we get up to 39 custom profiles. Tomorrow, I will release another video talking about the profiles and how they kind of compare to the Fujifilm system. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see that tomorrow. But yeah, we get up to 39 custom profiles that we can save. You can tweak them in camera, but more importantly, the new LUMIX app, you're able to create custom profiles in there. And it's basically like what you would get in like VSCO or some like phone editor. And I created profiles within there, and I was able to get kind of similar results, if not better results, because again, I'm doing it all through like LUMIX color science and contrast and profiles. It simply all works through this LUT button back here. You simply click this, and then we get that bar up there, and you can switch it all through there. From there, you could click the Q button, and you see there's further adjustments that you could make from here. The other big feature about this, why it makes me love it for photography, is it has an X-Pan mode. So basically, this can shoot the same crop that this Fujifilm TX1 X-Pan camera can shoot. This shoots again 65 by 24 frames. You know, this is a film camera, obviously, and I think it's kind of ridiculous that, you know, the Fujifilm X106, it can't shoot that mode, even though it has a 40 megapixels crop sensor. Those two little silly things is enough for me to pick this up over these other two cameras. For street photographers, this kind of stuff is gonna be amazing. I don't know if I would actually use this on a professional shoot, but for video stuff, again, we have open gate. And so I'm really excited because I'll be able to do the most compact, anamorphic, open gate, IBIS. No, I'm not gonna start using this on fashion shoots. I might a little bit, as like, sometimes when you bring a smaller, less intrusive setup in front of your subjects, they kind of ease, like when you bring up an iPhone. So I can't imagine maybe I'll use that for that, but for actual professional shoots, I'm not gonna use this. I'm still gonna probably use like my Sony a7R5, but what I'm gonna use this for is more, we're getting pointed at, we're getting judged right now. What I'm gonna use this more for is the times where I use the Fujifilm X106. Getting pointed at by multiple people now. Let's walk. A lot of the times when I take the X106 somewhere, I'm getting pointed at more. A lot of times when I use the X106, I wish that I could film some videos. I wish, you know, I could maybe slap a different lens on there. I wish I'd customize it a little bit more. I wish I get more of a full frame look and get more, you know, bokeh out of it. This is going to replace that for me. The Fujifilm X106 still has amazing build quality, and it feels luxurious compared to this. This feels cheap in comparison, but the internals and all the customization options are just like next level. Okay, I'm gonna start out. Hold on. Cut it. And part of me wants to say it's not retro, but the other part of me says it is retro. I don't know. There's a LUMIX logo underneath here as well. I ended up taking it off, and I didn't like how like modern it made it look, so I put the tape back on there. We're actually all out here for the whole LUMIX summit. Mando was just making good points, like, you know, we're not being told what to say here. Talking about the downsides, because they are a little bit of a bummer. You know, they kind of balance out, but what was the last one you just brought up there?
The record limit. There's an actual record limit.
Because as it counts up, showing you how long you're recording for, it also counts down, and it doesn't show you the full time that you have left on your card because it's too busy counting down the 10-minute record time.
The thing is that this camera is catered towards content creators, and I almost feel like you're emitting the YouTube community, because there are people that actually set up a camera and they like to talk for a long time. There's another group that did an independent test, and they actually hit record. Every time it would stop, because I think it's like 10 minutes, they recorded for over an hour, and even though they got the overheating symbol, the camera technically never overheated. So they did talk to LUMIX. Now, I'm not saying they're gonna do this. They are thinking of possibly removing that record limit. Cool thing about it is they can fix it with a firmware update. So we'll see what happens.
Obviously, Aman's gonna do a video on this as well, so I'll put a link to his video in the description. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Again, that's the good, the bad, the ugly. I think this camera's gonna be polarizing oddly. I don't feel like it's necessary to be, but you know, people are very passionate about this. Wasn't a super detailed video. I already know a million people are gonna make detailed videos, so I just wanted to speak my perspective on it. Also, we shot a documentary with this camera as well, and that will be out, I think on Friday, maybe Thursday, I don't know. I might do back-to-back edits. That's it for this video. Again, links down in the description for all my LUTs. Shout out to audio as well. Be expecting to see this a lot more on the channel now.